Yo, what's up? Okay, today we're writing expressions. Let me go through a couple things real quick to remind you. Expressions. This thing right here, that's an expression. Anything with math going on in it that does not have an equal sign. An expression, like a sentence with numbers, right? Okay, now what we learned last week is that you're going to have now letters in these expressions, right? That represent things we don't know. That's totally okay, right? If I were to give you this, you should look at it all confused, like, I don't know what to do with that, right? You really shouldn't, because there's nothing you can do with it unless I tell you what those letters equal. Then you use what's called substitution to put a number in where those letters are, and you will rewrite it, right? So this is what we did last week. I'm going to give you two examples real quick, see what it looks like. 7z divided by 4 plus 5x. Right, anytime you have a letter right next to a number, we know that means to multiply, so you got to multiply these together if I tell you what they are. And up here I do, right? X is 3, y is 12, and z is 8. So if z is 8, what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite this expression. I'm going to put an 8 in parentheses right where the z is. Divided by 4 plus 5, and then that's times x, which is 3. So I just put a 3 in here. This is called substitution, and if you can do that right there, plug in a number where a letter is, then you have set yourself up for success for this entire chapter and for algebra in general. Substitution. Now we can solve this, right? Now we use order of operations. We go through here, we do all the parentheses first. Well, you would say, oh, there's parentheses, but there's nothing to do inside of them. They're really just there to show multiplication. So there really is no parentheses in this. There's no exponents. So we go to multiplication and division, and we do it from left to right. So we have multiplication, division, and multiplication. So we're just going to go straight left to right and do all that. The last thing we'll do is this addition. So 7 times 8 is 56. I'm just going to rewrite the rest of the problem down. 56 divided by 4. 14 maybe? 14? Yep, 14 plus 5 times 3. And then I'm going to take care of this multiplication before I do the addition. So remember, multiplication will always come before addition. And then finally add these together. 29. Right. And this is what we were practicing last week. Okay, let's do one more. Y squared divided by 3z. Let me plug in y is 12. And in parentheses we've got 3 and z is 8. I just made my parentheses into brackets because they were already around it. Doesn't really matter. We are going to do the exponent first. Or we can do these parentheses first, right? What's inside the parentheses? 3 times 8, 24. And then we'll take care of the exponent next, right? It's 12 squared, which is 144. And luckily I can do this stuff in my head, but 144 divided by 24 is 6. And again, the only way we're going to have an opportunity to solve these problems is if you're substituting properly. All right, today I'm going to give you some word problems like this, and I'm going to have you tell me what the expression looks like for it, right? How you're supposed to set the problem up, really. So the first couple problems that we're going to see, is this a addition, subtraction, multiplication, or a division problem? So Missouri has 8 commercial airports, California has 24. If the question was Alabama has 4 fewer airports than Missouri, what would you do to figure that out? Would you add, subtract, multiply, or divide? Key word here would be fewer, and that would be a subtraction problem, right? Fewer means to subtract. Next one, California has 3 times as many airports as Georgia. What operation would you use to solve that type of problem? Would that be adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing? Well, 3 times would be a dead giveaway that this is going to be a multiplication problem, right? So just kind of refreshing ourselves on what are some of these words that we use to determine if it's add, subtract, multiply, divide. Now, here we go, the meat of it. Trust me, your expressions aren't going to look like the crazy ones that we were doing at the beginning of this video. They're going to be nice and short, but they're still really important, okay? So, first we have here the expression, $8 more than Ryan earned. We need to find... Don't eat my papers, Max. We need to find $8 more than what Ryan earned. Okay, so more than probably tells us that we're going to be doing what? Add, subtract, multiply, divide. More than usually means addition, right? So we need to find 8 more than what Ryan earned. Well, how much did Ryan earn? And this is where algebraic expressions come in. We don't know how much Ryan earned, and that's okay. But what we need to do is something called defining a variable. In order to say how much Ryan earned that we don't know, we need to pick a letter. My letter for this probably be R for what Ryan earned. So I'm going to write this down. My variable is R. Okay? And then what I'm going to be doing with this is I'm going to have to find $8 more than what Ryan earned, right? Ryan earned is R. So I need $8 more. So this is 8. So it really looks like 8 plus R. And that's exactly what that would be, right? If you had Ryan's money and we added $8 to it, wouldn't that be $8 more than what he had? Absolutely. But my way of writing this expression would probably be to say $8 more than what Ryan earned, because we would start with what Ryan earned and we would add 8 to it. Technically, both of these are correct if it was 8 plus R or R plus 8, but be careful. It's not always in the order that it comes in, right? So I'm going to go with what Ryan earned and adding $8 to it. We're going to go with R plus 8 on this one. That's what we're looking for as terms of expression. If you really look at it, $8 more than Ryan earned, there it is. What Ryan earned, which we don't know what it is, but we're going to add 8 to it. And we can't solve it. That's it, guys. That's how you write an expression from words. You don't have to solve it or anything. You just have to put it in terms of a mathematical expression. Try this one out real quick. $10 less than the original price. This is what normally people would do on this one. I'll show you a mistake people make. $10 would be a 10. That's correct. Less than would be subtraction. That's correct. The original price, let's say P. I probably wouldn't go with O there. Some people might have put an O for original price, but that would be confusing because you might think it's a 0. So let's go with P. And then the people would write 10 minus P. But unfortunately, subtraction really matters what order it's in. It's not commutative, meaning you can't switch the 10 and the P around. You get different answers if you do either one. So it really matters what order they come in. So in order to find $10 less than the original price, you got to start with the original price. You start with P and subtract 10 from it. So although the sentence says it in words in order as $10 less than the original price, in order to find $10 less than something, you would actually have to subtract 10 away from it. So in this case, it would be P minus 10. It would be the original price and then take 10 away from it. Imagine if it was a coat that was $30 and I said you could subtract $10 off that original price. You wouldn't do 10 minus 30. You would do 30, which is the price of the coat, minus 10. And in this case, P minus 10. And you're done. Okay? But remember, if there's subtraction in the problem, so important to get it in the right order. Really think about it. 4 times the number of gallons. 4 times the number of gallons. Okay, let's go through here. 4, obviously 4, times, probably means multiply, the number of gallons. How many number of gallons? Don't know. So that's why we use a letter. We define a variable. We use G for gallons, right? And how do I show 4 times G? Some people would say 4xg. But if you guys know me, I've been in my class all year long, I do not use an x for multiplication, right? I don't use an x for times, okay? And especially with algebra, there's a way we can show a number times a letter. And if you've been paying close attention, you might recognize that in order to do that, we just do this right there. We just put them right next to each other. 4 and G right next to each other means 4 times G. So what we're showing here is 4 times the number of gallons. Excuse me. So 4G, right? 4 times G. This really shows 4 times the number of gallons. We don't know what it is, but that's how we would write it. And if somebody were to tell us the number of gallons, we could plug it in and solve it. Here's one where it's two-step type of problem, okay? So on this one, it says write the phrase 5 less than 3 times the number of points as an algebraic expression. So let's go ahead and cross out this part just so we can kind of focus in on what this says. Write the phrase, okay, we got the phrase. It says 5 less than 3 times the number of points. So we've got 5, we've got less than means to subtract. 3 times means 3, and then times means multiply. And then the number of points, well, number of points is arbitrary. We don't know what that is. It's just some amount of points. We'll say p, right? So we've got 5 minus 3 times p. Now, there's one thing I do know in here. 3 times p, 3p. Right? Like just like the last problem. But now we've got this less than, we've got this minus sign going on. And remember, I said earlier that anytime you have subtraction, super important, it matters what order it goes in. So if we're trying to find 5 less than this right here, it means we're trying to find 5 less than this. How do you find 5 less than something? If you had $20 and I said, what's 5 less than that, what would you do? You would say, oh, well, $20 minus 5. That would actually mean that this minus 5, although in the sentence it comes first, we're finding 5 less than it would actually come after. So what we're doing here is we're going to multiply the number of points times 3 and subtract 5 away from it. And that's what our algebraic expression looks like. But it does help to kind of write this stuff out up here just to see what you're dealing with, right? 3 times p we know is 3p, and we got to subtract the 5. So does it come in front or behind? It goes behind in this case. Here's one. It says write the phrase. We're going to cross some of this out just so we can kind of focus up here as an algebraic expression. $3 more than 4 times the cost of a pretzel. Okay, so we got $3 more than means to add. 4 times means to multiply. The cost of a pretzel, we used P on the last problem. Let's use C on this one for the cost of the pretzel, right? Okay, so we need to show 3 more than 4 times the cost of the pretzel. I'm looking at like all these different words that are trying to help me out here. 4 times the cost of a pretzel. What's 4 times the cost of a pretzel? That's easy. 4C, right? Just 4C. But I need to add 3 to it. Now this is kind of cool because unlike subtraction where it really matters, addition does not matter what order it comes in. So you could write 3 plus 4c, because adding 3 to something doesn't matter if it comes first or second because it's the commutative property. Either one of these works for addition. Okay, it's subtraction that you really got to worry about, guys. So either one of these is going to work for this one. 4 times the cost of a pretzel would be 4c. And then you add 3 to it. Obviously, we don't know what that is, but we've written our expression for it. Here's a couple that you guys can practice. You can pause the video, write down the answers to each one of these. I'm going to show you the answers to them, and then we're going to peace out of here, okay? A, 4 points fewer than the Bulls scored. Well, the Bulls scored this many points. And 4 points fewer than that would be B minus 4. It cannot be 4 minus B, guys, because subtracting 4 from something is what gets 4 less than it. B, 12 times the number of feet. 12 times the number of feet, 12F. So multiply. The total cost of a shirt and an $8 pair of socks. Well, how much does a shirt cost? I don't know. How much does the socks cost? 8. What would the total cost of those two things be? Add them together. All right, guys, if you got questions, let me know. Just writing down expressions today. We're getting some good practice in. See you guys in class or online. Peace.